Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of From Adversity to Awakening, Transforming Hardships into Greater Spiritual Connection and Joy. I am your host, Peggy O'Neill, and I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad to be with you. And today I have a super special guest, Sandi Stuart is here with us. And I know Sandi from an organization I belong to. I'm very honored to belong to this organization called Association of Transformational Leaders, started by Scott Cody, who we unfortunately lost to his next life adventure a couple months ago. And Sandi has been very instrumental in the beginnings of this organization. It's been going, what, 13 years now?
Almost 15.
Almost 15. So she's going to tell you a little bit about her and her very diverse career. And then she had some big adversity a couple years ago. We're going to talk about that. So welcome, Sandi, and let's hear all about you.
Okay, hi Peggy. I just love your energy. I'm all excited already just sitting with you. So,
Thank you.
okay, my background. I've done a lot of diverse things. I started off as one of the first female executives in the men's clothing business many, many years ago. I was one of the people that started the jeans company Bugle Boy. I don't know if anybody remembers that ad, which went like this. Are those Bugle Boy jeans you're wearing? Said by a very sexy woman. So that was our company for 25 years at least,
Wow.
and
Wow.
we shipped over $500 million worth of jeans annually. So it was a very large company. That was before online shopping, when everybody was shopping in stores. Um, After that, I explored the licensing business and I focused on licensing designers to mass market retailers. So I called it the democratization of fashion. So that meant that
Love that.
anybody could afford beautiful clothes because it's just as easy to design beautiful clothes as ugly clothes. And one of the highlights of that career was licensing the fabulous designer Norma Kamali to Walmart stores.
Nice.
Very
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was very
I
exciting.
remember when Martha Stewart came to Target, I was like, what?
Yeah, same idea.
Like,
Exactly.
this is amazing. And then all of a sudden you could go to Target and like get some really nice looking stuff. And
Yeah.
obviously with Walmart, I don't shop at Walmart, but obviously that happened there too.
Yeah, same thing. So that was fun. And then I just sort of decided I wanted to explore new things, and I signed up for a somatic psychotherapy course. And I got into that course and I went, oh my God, I need to know everything there is about this. This is life-changing. And it changed my life in a number of ways. I had some physical challenges that really changed once I got into that program. You know, things that doctors say you can never get rid of, I got
Like
rid
what? Like, give us one example.
of the physical thing.
Hmm.
Okay, so I had something called, well, I have it, I guess it never goes away, interstitial cystitis, which is it yeah, and it feels like that too. It's feels like you have a bladder infection 24 hours a day, but you don't. And there's no infection, so antibiotics don't work.
Uh-huh.
It's they feel it's caused by a lot of different things. A big part of it is allergies because the bladder is a mucous membrane, just like your eyes and your nose. So when your
Hmm.
eyes and your nose get inflamed, your bladder can get inflamed.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Interesting.
there's diet, exercises that you can do, physical therapy, but not until I started breathing somatically on a regular basis did my symptoms go away and stayed away. So that was, I had such a
Yay.
personal experience with it that I wanted to really explore it. And I became so involved that I graduated from the Institute of Somatic Psychotherapy. And then I went around.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And I taught other therapists the technique to use in their practice, and I taught around the world. Italy was one of the most exciting places I taught in, but I taught in
For
Canada
a
as well.
fashion person, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. It was dangerous.
Yeah.
Teaching, shopping, teaching, shopping. Anyway, so
With no
I've, I've
paycheck.
I've done a lot of different things, and now I provide brands to the national networks, ABC and NBC, for their on-air live flash sales because through my prior life, I'm connected to a lot of brands and a lot of small businesses. But what I try to do in this business is focus on women-owned businesses and ethnic-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, giving those people a chance to have a national platform where they wouldn't necessarily get that. So it's very rewarding. It's a win-win. I've never done anything in the clothing business where everybody's happy all the time. It's a win-win-win-win. So it's a very nice thing to do at this stage in my career.
Well, Sandy, you are a poster child for you are a poster child for the ever evolving life.
The
Like
ever-evolving life. That's
I
what we
love
need.
that you did like one thing, were super successful. You want to do the next thing, you were super successful, got involved in, and very holistic. Like you did business and then you did something really that was meaningful for you. And then you did the therapy thing and did your own healing and then reached out to help others. And I wanted you to give an example of that because, and I'm sure that you also noticed that a lot of your students were having miraculous changes because somatic therapy is what I do also. Another name, Hakomi, is a body-centered psychotherapy, and the tapping that I do, Tap for Joy, which comes from faster EFT, all are somatic based, psychologically based. And when you put the body and the mind together, it's amazing what kind of transformation can happen. And I just wanted to make a little pause button on, make a little, comment about how important that is. So I think it's amazing that you've done all of these things in your career. And it sounds like you had maybe escalating points of fulfillment as you went from one thing to the next, as well as being able to be a good earner. So that's an
Yeah.
awesome thing. And now helping women that are, trying to get their brands out there. I mean, that's amazing. So now we're going to shift gears and go into and bravo and congratulations. And I want to applaud you for having a lot of qualities of inner bigness, courage, taking risks, being an innovator, following your heart, like all that stuff.
Inner bigness. I'm going to have to write that one down. I like that.
Yeah.
Bigness.
Yeah. So yeah, I talk about inner smallness is the thing that cripples us, and inner bigness is the thing that allows us to be free.
Beautiful.
And it had lots of qualities in there. And you are a perfect poster child. Yeah, I should have said you're a poster child for inner bigness. Okay. Let us talk about your adversity, however, in this moment. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened and the greatest challenge that you've had, one of them, or however you met. I don't know if you want to talk about more than one, but let's just go into that.
Okay, there's actually two that were back to back. So I think they're significant because they were so close together.
Okay.
So I think prior to what I'm going to talk about, and this is important to talk about later about what I learned, so I just want to set it up.
Yeah.
I felt like I did, and I felt like I had a very charmed life. I'm blessed 40 years of marriage to a wonderful man. I have a beautiful daughter who's my best friend. She's also a psychotherapist, so we have a lot in common. We always had enough financial security. There was enough of everything. We had fun, and I felt really, really blessed. Then in 2018, the Woolsey fire in Malibu, we lost our home. We'd lived in Malibu for a number of years, and there'd been fire scares along the way many times. And basically, we would just get in our car, go to Santa Monica, have lunch, and come back because we knew the fire staff would be there. We'd be fine. Our house was on the ocean. We felt pretty safe, and everything was always fine. We had moved off the ocean and we were up in the hills overlooking Zuma Beach. And we moved into a larger house. So we were able to take all of our stuff out of storage from our earlier life, fill up our house with everything we owned. So everything was there. All of the photo albums, all of the grandmother's stuff, everything that had meaning was all in that house. And the fire was coming, and the fire was different. It was more like a hurricane, and it was more threatening. And we just left. I still have some regrets because Barnett said, I have a truck. Why don't we take the art? Why don't we take a few things? And I was like, no, 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 we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. And I don't want to go in two cars. I want to be with you. And I sort of like, well, I don't know if I overreacted, but my goal was to get it.
You wanted to be safe.
You just wanted to be safe. I didn't care about this stuff at that time.
Yeah.
So we got out safely. The house burned down. We didn't have a toothbrush. We didn't have a change of underwear.
Come on.
No, we just left we had a fire suitcase, and in our fire briefcase, not even suitcase, briefcase, there was marriage certificate, passports, any kind of paper like that you needed. And we both took our laptops, and Barnett took, I think, a hard drive because he's a writer of his work. So he had his work. We left. We found out while we were driving on PCH, because it was so backed up, everybody was leaving Malibu. It took us 6 hours to get from Malibu to Santa Monica. We found out in the car that our house had burnt down because there was another person living not too far who called us and lost their house also to tell us. They didn't leave, so they saw what happened.
They watched it. Oh my God.
Yeah, they watched
traumatic.
it. Yeah. So that was pretty traumatic, but what happened after the fire, with the fires, I pretty much went into shock. I think everybody just goes into shock. And I thought, okay, well, it's just stuff. We'll be fine. But I was pretty much in shock. So much so that we had an ATL board meeting, I remember, not too long after not too long after the fire. The other thing that happened is that my husband was scheduled to teach in Japan, and that was set up before the fire. So now we have no home, we have nowhere to go. The people that were hosting him in Japan called and said, we have a tradition in Japan that when there's a tragedy, we don't separate the man and the woman. We're sending you a ticket to come with Barnett. So that was wonderful because we went right to sort of an adventure, but we were pretty broken inside. Like we had to buy a suitcase, we had to buy clothes, we had nothing. And we rented a 400 square foot Airbnb converted garage not far from Malibu, so that we'd have a place to come home to.
Good.
I was pretty much in shock. And then I come home and we go to this ATL meeting, and one of the people who was on the board at ATL, she had lost her house in a fire in Colorado 12 years before. And she came up to me and she was holding my hands, and she was like so moved and so compassionate, and she was saying, "Oh, Sandi, I'm so sorry."
She knew what you were going through.
But I didn't know. And I was like, she was bugging me. She was pissing me off. Like, come on, it's not that bad. And and then she said, it took me 10 years to get my mojo back after my fire. And
That's bad news. That's very bad news. Not to be good.
Yeah. And I'm in my mind saying, I'm not going to lose my mojo. And what happened was about 6 months later, I called her and I said, you're right. I get it. I get it. Because my mojo, I discovered, was false security and false image. It was nothing real. I thought that I had the perfect house, the perfect husband, the perfect daughter. We looked like the perfect couple. Everything looked perfect. And it was good. There was no ugliness inside. But that was a lot of my identity, and my ego was tied up in it. And I also believed, as a metaphysician, I create my own reality. Why did I create this? And, beat myself up for, what's the message? What's the story? And there aren't answers when you're in the midst of it. You have to go through it before the answers arrive.
The answers are in looking back.
Yeah. So
silver lining is exposed later.
Exactly.
Not apparent when the house is coming tumbling down or burn, you're standing in the ashes is probably a better metaphor in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. So that mojo, I started to look at what was this mojo, and did I really lose something? So I'm still in shock from the fire. I'm still, in this sort of shocked place, I'd say.
Right.
And Barnett gets a gallbladder attack. It's 4 months later. In the middle of the night, he's in excruciating pain. We go to the internist doctor. The doctor says to me, "Don't you notice that he's a little orange, or did you just think that's a suntan?" I didn't notice that he was a little orange. Anyway, he said, "You're having gallbladder attack. You're going to go across the road to the hospital. They're going to break up the gallstones. You're going to come back in 2 weeks. We take it out laparoscopically, no big deal." Well, to make a long story short, when they were breaking up the stones, they had a medical mistake, and they nicked his intestines. And it was life-threatening. And we were in the hospital for 2 weeks. They were waiting to see if it corrected itself before doing a major surgery and cutting him open. It was the worst 2 weeks of my life. He was projectiling green across the room, literally. And we later found out we weren't in a great hospital, but that's where we were. And he told
Wow.
me that when he went into the surgery, he's a surfer. So he was going out over the waves very calmly. It was beautiful. The sun was shining. He was going further and further from shore. And then he remembered, "I can't leave. Sandy's not ready to be alone." And he came back. So he was going, you know. And after when they came out of the surgery, they told me, "Don't leave. Stay here tonight," because at one point something happened with his heart. It all corrected, but there was an incident. We need to be sure his heart's okay. Well, I'm sure that incident was when he decided to leave and come back. He had to reset.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. And
Wow.
and they fixed him, but they didn't heal him. So we came home to our 400 square foot room. For 18 months, he was sick. I mean, really sick. He's 6'1". He weighs 183 now. He weighed 130. He couldn't
What?
keep food
And
down.
he's thin. He is not a person that has any overweightness.
No. I had to sleep on the floor next to the bed because I couldn't be in the bed with him for 18 months.
Oh my God.
Finally, we found another doctor through another long story who said, "That doctor who hurt you, well, he saved your life, but he put you back together kind of funky. I think I can take you apart and reassemble and you'll be fine." He went back into the hospital during COVID.
Scary, scary,
During
scary.
COVID, so I couldn't go.
Super scary then.
And the doctor did exactly what he said. Barnett came home from the hospital, said, "I want a corned beef sandwich." I went and got it for him, and he never stopped eating. And he's been fine and in better shape ever since. But the
Wow.
fire on top of life-threatening, on top of nursing someone that you love and feeling helpless for 18 months, and everything bad that could happen to him happened. Like when they say, "Well, this could happen," it happened. It was just awful the whole way. So that was a lot of that was a lot of difficult.
Adversity. A
That was
lot of adversity. A
a lot
lot,
of
a
adversity.
lot of
And it
adversity.
was on top of the fire. So
Yeah.
that's really PTSD because I never
Yeah.
healed from the
Right,
fire
right,
before this was
right, right,
on top.
right.
Thank goodness COVID came. When he got healed, we were in the midst of COVID, because looking back, and we didn't leave the house because I was so nervous about his immune system, and I didn't know. He's actually fine and has had COVID and was fine. But, we were also scared at that time. So we basically finally had moved into a new house. We found this beautiful romantic cottage that we bought that was very funky, that we made beautiful. We planted a garden. We were so happy, and we just healed for the 2 years during COVID. And had there not been COVID, I think I would be carrying around a lot more of that trauma,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it gave me time to really get in touch with who I had been and who I was now from that experience.
Who you are now and who you have always been.
And who I didn't know I was, who my soul and God, Goddess, all that is, said, little redirect to get you on the right path, girlfriend.
Exactly. So, tell us about how, because you told us a little bit how the adversity impacted you. How did the near death, I mean, like, how did that impact you? Did you kick into, I've got to be strong, or did you collapse, or like, what happened?
I didn't collapse.
I didn't think so.
I didn't
I
collapse,
know you a little
but
bit.
I was, but I was numb, and I took
Uh-huh,
really,
uh-huh.
really good care of him. But that house, that garage that we were renting that I told you about, it it was a sort of a steep driveway up to get to the garage. I was so out of it. I was like, he'd say to me, "Oh, maybe this would feel good, like some kind of food from this restaurant." And I would get in the car and go get it and come back, and he'd have one bite and he couldn't eat it. But every time I drove back home and I drove up that driveway, I was so out of it that I hit the house with my car. Like not fast, not hard, not crashed because I was going slow, but I was so out of it that I wouldn't stop till I hit the house. And he'd know I was home because the whole house would shake. So I had to get
Is,
my car fixed after that. But no, I went into real I felt helpless, I felt depressed, I felt anxious. Everything made me nervous. I couldn't eat. I lost a lot of weight. My hair fell out. I was
wow.
a mess. I was a
Wow.
mess. And
Wow.
I was just driving him from
That's
practitioner to vendor to practitioner to try to find, because no one could really determine why he wasn't getting well. In the end, from the new surgeon, he showed us that the way that the first surgeon attached his bile duct, the impurities were going back into his system rather than out. So every night he was getting high fevers and the shake so traumatically that I had to put a towel in his mouth so he didn't break his teeth. That was for 18 months. So I was just completely out of it. I didn't really see my friends because I was protecting him. He
yeah.
didn't want anybody to come around, so I didn't have anybody come around, and I never left his side. So it was a mess. It was really, really, it was a mess.
Oh my gosh. That is an amazing story.
And I love this man beyond imagination on top of it. So, I really always
That
imagined, we
that
don't know, that we would have a long life together, but the thought of losing him was just impossible to me.
well, I love that he came back for you.
Me too.
He is truly a chivalrous.
Yes, he did. He did it. He stuck with it. He stuck with it, and he was amazing. He was
That's
amazing.
beautiful. That and not surprising knowing him. I don't know him very, I know him a little bit, but my intuition about him is that he's very chivalrous, that he's very committed and he's very in integrity. That's what I notice about your husband. And that is a very integritous thing to do, is to notice that I'm not alone in this. I have a partner and I'm gonna come and help and continue my adventure with her instead of going off on my next adventure by myself. Love that. So
He loves me more than he loved himself, because it would have been easier to go surfing
yes,
in the
yes.
great beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing that that's how he experienced it because it's also a great metaphor. But I think it was actually literal for him because his orientation of riding waves and he was in a big situation of risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how do you feel like you've worked with the challenge? You feel like you've done some grappling with it, and how if so, how has that helped you to shift in in any ways?
Well, I'm definitely still working with the challenge, because I do find that I'm more anxious than I used to be.
Uh-huh.
I'm more aware of the preciousness of every moment. But I
Beautiful.
do, the other thing that happened is, um, I, okay, so I'm going to talk about love right now. So I always loved Barnett. He loved me. We had a great
That's her
relationship.
husband.
That's my husband, Barnett. Uh,
You didn't say his name yet. Yeah.
yeah. But for me personally, I think I surrendered this much in the love, not this much, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like I surrendered this much, because the more I loved him, the more the fear of loss came up.
Mhm.
And so I kept a little
Yeah.
distant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I almost lost him. My worst fear came true. And
Mhm.
so I was able to,
Nice.
because it happened.
Yeah.
So now I don't, the surrendering to the love has put both of us, I think, in a whole different dimension of lovingness, respect, appreciation, patience. Like, thank God you're here today to drive me crazy, because the alternative would have been awful. I'd be driving myself crazy alone right now, you know.
Beautiful.
So
I love that.
that was a really big one. And that is one that has sustained itself, because this happened before, like, the beginning of COVID, when yeah, so whatever
Uh-huh.
year that was. So it's
Right.
been a couple of
Right.
years,
Uh-huh.
and we both have been able to sustain that feeling.
So
The
I have a question for you before you go on, if you don't mind. So when you went like this to this, right? I wonder, does it impact your experience of a merged type of love where you experience yourself? Maybe this would be another dimensional thing where you're not you separate anymore, but you're actually have the experience of also being one with the other.
Both, I think both. I feel separate. I'm
Right?
aware of our separateness,
Yes, of
and
course.
I'm so aware of how we came into this world to be together. You know,
Did it,
sometimes I
here's
say to him,
another way to say the question, did it deepen your connection?
oh, absolutely, absolutely, because the appreciation
Uh-huh.
and the patience, like the things that I could write,
Acceptance. It's like acceptance.
yeah, the things I could righteously get upset about in the past, little annoyances, I no longer waste my time with. If I start to get annoyed, I am aware from my mindfulness practices, oh, that's an annoyed thought floating into consciousness. Do I want to be that, or do I want to just watch it fizzle? And I can do that now. And I let it fizzle and sizzle, and nothing, and the love remains. Because all those little annoyances are get in the way of the love. If
Well,
you let
they tear
yourself
it
in love with
apart,
it.
they tear it down, and they they shred it. And
Yeah.
not only does catching, using your mindfulness to catch the annoyances prevent that process, but they also build the love because the other person's not getting criticized every
Yeah.
hour or day or whatever, right?
Yeah. 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 That, so definitely that's different. Although I am aware, I don't know if it's PTSD or what, but I'm just a little bit, I can feel an energy of anxiousness more
Uh-huh.
than I used to.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a PTSD. You just need to do some of your somatic therapy.
yeah, and I do, you know, so
Yeah.
my daughter's pregnant right now, and that's lovely. But,
Exactly.
you know, I'm aware of my anxiousness around that. Or sometimes when I'm driving in a car, I'm a little more anxious than I used to be. But I think that's just leftover stuff that I'm still working on. Another big thing that happened is, you know, when I say I thought that I had the really good life and everything like that, the truth of it is, I also thought I was better than other people
Mhm.
because I had all that. That's the truth of it. And it's not pretty, but I'm on your show and you're honest, and I have to be honest. I thought I was better because of the way my life was. I thought, oh, I must be better because I have look at this life. And so I wasn't as compassionate, first of all, when people were ill,
Mhm.
because I thought I create my own reality. Well, you know, not consciously, I'm thinking they created being
Of
ill.
course, of course.
Just this undertone of better than-ness, let's say, that I wasn't even aware of, really was not aware of, because had I been, I would have worked on it because it's not pretty. But
Right.
after all this adversity,
Yes.
I became so compassionate for all my friends that were going through anything, because
Beautiful.
I just felt for them and I wanted to support them and love them. And
Yeah.
it was a feeling that I didn't have before. I would support them and love them before, but it had a different flavor, let's say. Now it was really true love and compassion and care. Um, and I also, when I say lost my mojo, another way to say it is I lost confidence. It took me time to
Mhm.
rebuild the confidence of who I am after that situation. And I'm still, I feel that's pretty much rounded out. I feel like I've got my confidence back, but I've got confidence without better than, where before I had arrogant confidence with better than.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm noting to myself while you're talking is that this whole thing has been about for you about love. It's like you had the love of the what I call the vertical experience with your partner, your mate, your husband, your father of your children, and you're having also love horizontally, which means the people that are in your world with your daughter and your friends and your colleagues, etc. So the fact that your heart has taken on these qualities of greatness, heart has taken on qualities of greatness is a phenomenal thing to have happen in your life. And I mean, so tell us about how, so the good things about it that come out, I'm just going to summarize and say that you have the capacity for great love now. So has that, and do you have, I guess, to ask you about the spiritual question, is there any way that the challenge supported your spiritual connection, your spiritual experience, realization, awakening, any of that?
I think my spiritual connection definitely became deeper because I saw that I was held, that we were held and cared for, even in the midst of all of that. And even if something horrible would have happened with Barnett's health, I still felt held by the goddess. I still felt held by the mother. I knew I wasn't alone, even though I was a mess. Um, I never lost that feeling and it became stronger. So it's stronger now.
Good.
And not just the goddess, but I live in the trees and I'm so aware of the support from the nature spirits. I'm so aware of the support. Everything is out there to just support us.
Yeah,
Everything is just working together to love us and take care of us, even in the midst of horrific tragedy and fear and the unknown.
yeah,
Um, and so that's really helping a lot because I feel like the whole world has PTSD right now, and there's so
yes,
much chaos going on
yes,
that
yes,
when I can tap into just the beauty of the energy of nature and the goddess and the mountain at the foot of our home we live at the base of this mountain and the majesty of it and how it's there just holding me with their arms. Um,
oh.
everything is much more of a, from a somatic point of view, everything is much more of a body felt sense. I feel all this rather than have to be a thought.
Yeah, so it's not only that you're having love with your partner and your friends, but actually nature is you're experiencing open-heartedness and connection and being thrilled by the wonders of nature that is making you have this other like a whole, I would imagine a whole other kind of life experience than what you had before. Even
Yeah.
though there's something, things have changed, right? So what a phenomenal, amazing thing. And how about joy? Are you experiencing, how do you experience the level of joy in your life now as opposed to before the challenges?
Yeah, before the challenges, I was much more of a doer, much more of a creator in the world,
Focused. Yeah.
focused outward more.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm much more focused inward, and
Mm-hmm.
that gives me much more joy. I have a inner peace, which gives me joy. A lot of what was motivating me fell away, so I have much more time within myself to experience life and be present.
Beautiful. 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 It's really a lovely story and such a amazing outcome that I love the part where all along you've known you're okay. And even though you lost all 100% of your worldly possessions, which I imagine had with the kind of success, work success that you had amazingly beautiful and
I
lovely.
did
A big house
the
full
art
of
killer.
antiques and amazing stuff, right? You loathe all of that. And then you almost lose your husband, but also you lose your identity of the loss of your identity of being this successful person, this person that's, in the marriage where everybody's healthy and happy and everything's just like coming up roses, that you lose that. So it's amazing that your heart has blossomed. You've gained other dimensionalities in your capacity to experience love. And you're experiencing not only in your relationships, but everywhere. So, I mean, there's a Sufi saying called Alhamdulillah, which means praise be to God. It's like the celebration. Like, let's celebrate that this thing happened, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
celebrate this. Congratulations kind of thing. Yeah. So anyway, anything else that you would like to share with us?
I just would like to say, Peggy, you have that every day. Every
Oh,
time I see you, you are joy like like 100-fold. And I love your energy. I love this time with you because it
yeah,
always helps to tell the story.
yes,
I
yes,
remind myself of
yes,
the treasures. So I'm grateful for this time with you.
yes.
And I'm so grateful for the inspiration that you are and the joy that you bring and your wisdom. And I love you.
Thank you, dear. Well, I have to say that my joy has been through walking through many fires, um, different of a different sort, and the phoenix that arises that comes out of those ashes is something that has an attunement to meaning in life and the awe, the wonder of nature and the beauty and magnificence of love and relationship and the honor of actually having a physical form and being able to have these amazing experiences of love and loss and all the stuff, right? Like amazing. And one
Right.
thing I would was when you were saying all that to me, thank you very much. I would was thinking for you that this sense of I love that you said that your sense of focus was from outside to inside, and I would imagine your sense of identity also did the same. It's like you were identified with a lot of things external, and now you're connected with who you really are, with the truth, which was before, here, during, and after tragedy and recovery even. So give thanks for that, because my estimation, that's why we came to this planet, is to find out who we really are. And it is these challenges that provide us the opportunity to dig and look and work through and grapple and get support, which we both have done quite a bit of, I imagine. And we come to this place of being able to be feeling that we're held by the universe, held by nature, and experience love wherever we go. So, yay.
To be continued. It never ends.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so
To
much for
continue.
coming and being with me and inspiring our watchers and listeners for that have gone through a similar or not similar tragedy as this kind of loss that you've gone through. Because I think it can be translated into your courage and your tenacity. You're continuing to look for healing and see it through, and also it sounds like some kind of focus on the finding the gift that's come out of it, and you just extrapolated on that so beautifully. Thank you, dear.
Hello.
I notice every time I go back, like my face turns blue. That's so weird.
Not to me.
Anyway, if you don't see that,
Mhm.
my
No.
my
Oh, right. Yeah, it did.
like
There
it
it
looks
did.
like I'm
There it goes.
in a ghost cartoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, all right, everybody, thank you for joining us. Join
Thank
us
you.
again in 2 weeks for the next adventure and episode of From Adversity to Awakening. Thank you, Sandi, so much for your loveliness, for your depth of wisdom, and your ability to share your story in such a beautiful way. Many
Thank you
blessings.
for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.